Hey guys, so here is a quick video of recapping the exponent rules that we talked about last week. We have the product rule, the zero rule, and the quotient rule. So I just wanted to go over a few vocab terms, a few things to remember, as well as going over them briefly. So hopefully this will help you out completing your practice for each of these. Okay, so for our vocab, these are two that you're going to see frequently throughout any problems or future math classes. So the first, and these are review guys, you've seen these before, you've heard of these before. So the big number is the base, and the base is what is being multiplied. And then your exponent, or your little number, this is how many times it is being multiplied. Okay, so for example, if I had x to the third, the base is x, so, and I'm multiplying it 3 times, so it's x times x times x. Okay, when we start these exponent rules, the one thing you have to remember is that your bases have to, no ifs, ands, buts about it. They have to be the same, okay? In order to do any of these exponent rules, they have to be the same. So think about way back when you guys were doing adding and subtracting fractions, where the denominators had to be the same, right? So this is the same kind of thing. Your base has to be the same in order to do anything. Well, then the question is, what happens if the bases aren't the same? Then you can't do it, okay? At least not with what I'm going to show you today. You can't do it. There might be some future math classes that they'll show you how to kind of rearrange things, but as of right now, in what we're doing here in the 8th grade, you don't have to do that, okay? So let's move to the product rule first. Okay, so the product means multiplication. Now, that does not mean we're going to multiply our exponents, okay? The product rule only means that when you see a problem and you're multiplying the bases, okay? Here is like for your product rule. So an example I'm going to show you is 2 to the second power, 2 squared, times 2 to the 3 power, or 2 cubed. Okay, so the product rule states, first thing you have to make sure is that your bases are the same. Are your bases the same? Yes, they are both 2. Okay, so the product rule states that you're going to keep the base. So I'm going to keep the base of 2. Okay, and because I'm multiplying the bases together, I can add my exponents. Okay, that's what the product rule states. If your bases are the same, you keep your base and add your exponents, okay? So our 2 to the third times 2 to the second is going to equal, when we add our bases together, 2 plus 3 is going to give you 5. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, well, why in the world does that work? Well, you know, Miss Pillar is going to show you why, of course. So 2 squared means we multiply 2 by itself twice, right? You're going to see 2 2's. And 2 to the third, we're going to see 2 3 times. Okay, so then we look at it and we can say, okay, well, if we keep the base, because in 6th grade, we call that expanded form. So now we have to condense it. We have to make it smaller. So we would keep our base of 2, because that's the number we see. And then we count up how many 2's we see, which is 5. So that just reiterates your product rule right here. Okay? Our next rule we're going to go to is the zero rule. Now, guys, before I move on to the zero rule, the product rule works the exact same. So some problems you might see a negative exponent. That is okay. It is okay to have a negative exponent at the moment. But you're still going to do the same. You're still going to add them together. Whether there's a positive and a negative, or 2 negatives or 2 positives, you just have to remember your integer rules, okay? So if you need a refresh on those, check out Khan Academy integer rules, okay? All right, so let's go to the 0 rule. Hang on, buddy. Let's go to the 0 rule. Okay, so the 0 rule, this one is my favorite because it's so simple, guys. Okay, so the 0 rule states that anything to the 0 power is going to equal the same thing. Okay, so if I have, let's say 5 to the 0 power. 5 to the 0 power is 1, okay? Is 1. If I take 100 to the 0 power, it's going to be 1. If I take x to the 0 power, it's going to be 1. If I take smiley face to the 0 power, it's going to be 1. Okay? So this one is so super simple. All you have to look for is the 0 in the exponent. And if you know that 0 is in the exponent, then it's going to equal 1. Okay, so one example that I want to throw out there, because I think it was on the practice problems, and this one might look a little bit confusing. So because they throw in parentheses, okay? So it's like 1,000th to the 4th power. I don't know what that is. I don't want you guys to find that out. But what the little piece of information it gives you, that whole thing is raised to the 0 power. So if I do that, everything is raised to the 0 power because everything inside the parentheses is considered that one term. Well, this whole thing is just 1. Don't stress, it's just 1. Okay, so to recap, the product rule, you have to keep the base, that make sure the bases are the same. Keep the base, add the exponents when it's being multiplied. The 0 rule, anything to the 0 power is 1. Okay, so our last rule I'm going to go over is the quotient rule. Okay, quotient means division. Okay, and now one thing that I did make a note of last week is that, so if we think about our inverse operations, we reference this a lot in class, and inverse operations are like the opposite. So like when I say left and right, they're opposite of each other, or up and down, they're opposite of each other. So we talked about inverse operations. Adding its inverse is subtracting. Dividing its inverse is multiplying, okay? So that is something to keep in mind here, okay? Because we just did the product rule. Now in the product rule, we added our exponents. In the quotient rule, we're going to subtract our exponents. Okay, so let me give you an example here. Okay, now it may be set up like a fraction like I'm about to do, or it may be using the division symbol, okay? So we have 5 to the 4th divided by 5 to the 2nd. Now, okay, I'm going to use my quotient rule. First thing I have to make sure, because I told you guys to do this before you do any of the rules, is that you have to make sure your bases are the same. So once that checks out, yes, they're both 5, I can go ahead with the problem. Okay, so we're going to keep our base, which is 5. We're going to keep our base, which is 5. And then the quotient rule says to subtract your exponents. Okay, now you're probably thinking, well, which one do we do first? Always start top minus the bottom, okay? Or the first minus the second. That will help you keep it straight. So we do 4 minus 2. 4 minus 2 is just going to come out to be 2, okay? Now, on an EOG or a check-in or a unit test, they might give you 5 squared, but because we know our squares and we know our cubes, they might also give you the answer of 25, okay? Because that's 5 times 5. So either one are possible answers, okay? Just if you would see that on a multiple choice. Now, like I said in the product rule, this works same with the quotient rule. It does not matter if they are positive or if they are negative. You are still going to do the same exact thing, okay? So I'm going to throw out some negatives here. So I have 5 to the negative 3rd and 5 squared. Okay, guys, again, it does not matter if they are positive and negative. Negative exponents are going to come into effect very soon. okay? But we're gonna do the same thing. Make sure our bases are the same, which check they are, and then we keep the base, subtract our exponent, so top minus the bottom. -3 minus 2, okay? So we have to remember our integer rules. So if you want to do add a line, change a sign, zip zap, whatever you want to do, we are going to add the opposite. So now we have a -3 plus a -2, which comes out to be 5 to the -5th. And again, we'll worry about negative exponents at another time. But I just wanted to do a quick recap. So remember, product rule, you keep the base, add the exponents. Quotient rule, you keep the base, subtract the exponents. And then zero rule, anything to the 0 power is just 1. I really hope this helps, guys. Stay tuned for another video on negative exponents and negative powers. That might be a little bit more involved. But reach out if you have any questions, guys. Happy learning!